So welcome, Kendra Blackett, Dibinga, Chief Visionary Officer and owner of BikramYogaWorks Drip Studio. I'm so excited to have you here today. The Best Life of Wellbeing podcast is designed to highlight people who I believe are living their best life of well-being. And so well-being is really people who are grateful and intentional about cultivating harmony and balance in all areas. It's a holistic approach in all areas of life: social, mental, emotional, financial, in the community. And I see you doing all of that. And so I invited you here today, not only to continue to encourage me with your story, but to encourage others as well. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So can you start by just telling me a bit about who you are? Three questions: who you are, how BikramYogaWorks got started, some of the services you offer, and how you got started. Those are the three.
Okay. My name is Kendra Blackett Dibinga, and as you said, I'm Chief Visionary Officer of BikramYogaWorks. Actually, I have to give my sister-in-law the credit for coming up with that title, because I generally have been the visionary for what it is that BikramYogaWorks has become. And I love to create. And so my space of creation, aligns so much with the vision of where I see not only myself, but our community taking care of themselves and being empowered in that way to live a life of health and well-being. So yes, Chief Visionary Officer of BikramYogaWorks. BikramYogaWorks started as primarily a Bikram Yoga studio. We were offering Bikram Yoga, the 26 postures and 2 breathing exercises. And that was kind of our mainstay. And then we started expanding. I think in my mind, I always had a view of health as being holistic. I come from a public health background, actually. My master's is in public health and public policy. And so health has always been more multifaceted for me. And a lot of it, based on my experience working in Africa, was looking at health through the lens of a community, and how communities actually can promote health or actually take away from health. And so and my goal with BikramYogaWorks is to create a community that was centered around health and trying to give people the power that they need, whether it be information, resources, services, to be able to live a life of comfort and without dis-ease. And so BikramYogaWorks started in 2014. We actually in 2013, but we officially opened in 2014 with our first location in Riverdale Park in Maryland, and then we expanded quickly to other areas in the DMV, and even had a studio in Boston, Massachusetts. At one point, I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. With BikramYogaWorks, we offer a number of group-based fitness classes. So we do, of course, Bikram Yoga as our mainstay, but we also have other yoga classes available, as well as fitness classes using high-intensity interval training methodology to let people also cross-train. Although I'm a big proponent of Bikram Yoga, I used to be a personal trainer. And so a lot of what you see in BikramYogaWorks in terms of the schedule has been really my background in cross-training and making sure that we're not just stretching, but that we're also building strength, and that we're not just being strong, but we're also mobile. And I really believe that as we age, especially, that a body of motion stays in motion. And so the goal for us is to keep people moving.
So can you tell me a little bit about yourself personally? You said you have, you talked a bit about your educational background and that you traveled internationally with your position. Where did you grow up other than Boston? Just a little bit more about where you grew up.
I'm originally from Grenada in the West Indies, Caribbean. I came to the United States after Grenada was invaded by the United States. And I was a young girl, around 6 or 7 years old. So I grew up mostly in Boston, Massachusetts. I came to DC by way of college. So I went to Georgetown University, studied culture and politics and African studies. And I moved into work in public health. And after graduating from college, I had an internship, a fellowship in Benin, West Africa. So I got to live in a French West African country, speak French for work, and really develop my love for public health in that way. I learned a lot about public health in terms of messaging, and which is why, all this stuff around the COVID really actually quite appalled me. Being a leader of a health space, or a space that's around wellness, so much about messaging is important. It's important for people to understand the why behind what they're doing. It keeps them motivated. It keeps them in the game. We don't force people into health. You either want it or you don't, right? But people, once they have understanding, they can be coaxed. So as I said, I went to college. I went to West Africa for a year. I went to grad school after that. I did 2 masters, one in public health and public policy, because at that time the school that I was in did not allow for a dual degree program. So I did 2 different masters simultaneously, and then I worked in international affairs, primarily focused on children affected by HIV and AIDS in Africa. I ended my career focusing on early childhood development, really, and it was a good transition out of that career for me, because I started having my own children, and by the time I was ready to leave full-time work in that sense, I had, my son was just, I was pregnant with my son, and I went on maternity leave, had him, and then I decided, this isn't for me. I didn't want to do that anymore. But one of the things I really realized that I loved in the work I did internationally was, every time I would go to any of the countries, I would feel so rejuvenated. The community aspect is always very strong, and something that's the foundation of the studios that I try to infuse here, because without community, there is just a bunch of individual actors, but the whole works together. And so that's something that I definitely I'm looking at and want to really reinforce as we go forward. Is the power of the community, the power of people working together, supporting each other, and meeting goals together.
The community feel at BikramYogaWorks is like no place I've been, because you have such a diverse studio. Mm-hmm. People of all different ages, all different backgrounds, and because you have a variety of fitness offerings. So if I am a beginner, I can do Bikram yoga. You also have more advanced, your dripped training is more advanced, and you use the resistance bands and weights. You have great instructors who are explaining exactly what's happening and the purpose of the deep stretch and why you need to lean into it and stick with it and feel it. And so the first class I took was trap yoga.
Oh yeah.
I think it was trap yoga, trap something. Yeah. And that was so unique. And that's one of the things I really, truly admire about not just you, but the studio, is that you do have a lot of unique offerings. You're not like any other yoga studio in the area, but you partner with lots of people. I love the community aspect, not just in the studio, but you bring others in. And so you've had the sound bath, and you also have your CEOU. Can you talk a little bit about CEOU?
Yeah, we're going to relaunch it very soon. But the CEOU is, there are 2 different things that happen in CEOU. One is an element of tapping into the power of you to kind of become your own brand as a person, as an individual. And then CEOU also is looking at, budding entrepreneurs who really want to step out and do their own thing, and marrying their passion with their purpose, right? People, I think, they think entrepreneurship is really sexy, and they want to do, become an entrepreneur because of, they think it's a lot of freedom, but it is. But there's with everything that's good, there's always another side of it, right? And so it's really preparing people to really understand what it is that entrepreneurship entails, and then really, if you're it's not, to me, just about going out and finding something that you can make money off of. It's something that you can actually, when the going gets tough and maybe the money isn't fully there, that you can still do it. It's a thing that you would do even though you wouldn't get paid for it necessarily. It's again, so trying to help people get to that point where they are, they understand that it's a long game that they're playing, it's not just a quick get rich scheme. None of this ever is. But it takes a lot of grit, a lot of determination, a lot of stick to itness, to kind of, so we go through all of that in the CEOU training, but really helping people to uncover what is it that you're really passionate about, because when the going gets tough, it's a thing that you're going to still want to do, and you're going to put all the effort in.
Yeah. First, you got to find your passion, marry your passion and your purpose. But once you're there, it's not going to come easy. You got to work toward it. And one of the things you suggested also is that you be careful about the people you surround yourself with. That's another one of the things I admire about you. Your focus, you're innovative, but you back to the focus. You're focused. You know what to eliminate and what to include in your space. And so can you just talk about that, surrounding yourself with like-minded people and some of the things you've done to maintain that focus?
Yeah. And I'll say that with a grain of salt, because like you sometimes need the ruffle, the ruffles, so you can refine your thinking and your perspective on things. But I often noted, I actually just had a recent experience with a friend, and I was like, and I realized that, sometimes we're all guilty of this. We get into the space of unhappiness, and so we continue to complain about the situation when the solution is actually right in front of us. And but it's our unwillingness to take that step and make that, to change the situation. And I was thinking about this morning. I was like, a lot of people are happy to be in that space of complaining. It's actually a crutch, right? And it's actually, and it's not, and when I realize that they're in that space, it means to me that it hasn't gotten uncomfortable enough. The dis-ease has not been, it hasn't been ramped up enough for them to make the change. And the reality is, that's the only how the change is going to happen, right? It's like, it has to get so uncomfortable. Like if you deal with people who don't go to the doctor until it gets like really, really bad, and they can't lift their arm, they can't go to the bathroom, it's all types of stuff. And you're like, but at which point did you realize that this was actually becoming an issue? And so no, but the reality was that it wasn't uncomfortable enough, right? And so we gotta get to the point where it's actually uncomfortable, and then something pushes us to change. But around the people that I surround myself with, if I start to hear too much complaining, I kind of block it out. I actually remove myself from those situations, because every one of us has issues that we have to confront in our life, whatever they may be, of a physical nature, of a work nature, of a whatever nature. We all have these challenges. But I see some people now that are very stuck, and they're stuck in a way that they're rather pull you down this rabbit hole of complaining, and it's not forward moving. And so I am only interested in action. Like I actually don't do a lot of these talking, because I am about action. So if I see something that needs to be done, I do it, and I don't talk too much about it. But I realize there's a space to talk about it as well. And this is also, by the way, why I don't listen to the news anymore. I rather read the news than listen to it, because there's a lot of negativity that is being fed to us every day. And it lowers our vibration as human beings. And I recently was reading something about love, and love being the highest vibration there is. And how do we stay in the space of love and high vibration when things are always negative? So even the stuff I consume is very limited. For a long time, I used to be a big news junkie. I call myself that. I would listen to the news all the time, even when I was in my car. But now I prefer to ride in silence, so I can listen to my own thoughts. I don't listen to music. I don't listen to pop culture stuff in my car, because again, it's like, what is it? You know what I mean? How is it helping me move forward?
what I've noticed, and I'm not saying this like I know you so well, I'm noticing from a distance and paying attention, and I'm reading some of what you offer. I'm looking at podcasts when you're talking to other people, and I think you're very grounded. And so obviously one of the ways you have reached that is by not listening to the news as much, by sitting in silence with your own thoughts and considering what it is you think and what you're feeling and experiencing and sharing that. But can you share other ways as an entrepreneur? How do you remain grounded, and talk a bit about strategies? I love one thing you said in one of your interviews. You acknowledged that you have a boutique fitness center. And I spoke with someone else and they're like, what's a boutique fitness center? And this is a person who owns a boutique fitness center. And it's like, that was so impressive to me that, you have a personal training background. And so you really understand the industry and you understand who you are. You're a mom of 3 children. You are 2 of your kids teenagers, like tweens and teens, like you got an adolescent son and you got a teen. And so that is really a critical stage of development for the kids, right? And so you and your husband have to be working together, and your family working together to make sure that, the kids are taken care of. You have a business, you're a wife, you got to take care of each other's needs. So as a business owner, as a woman, can you share some strategies?
One of the things I realize is that when I stay away too long from my own personal yoga practice, things go really haywire. If I continue to be consistent in my yoga practice, I actually can see through problems very clearly. I use my teaching and my practice as my meditation. So I'm able to kind of, again, create some space in my brain for my thoughts to actually develop. And then I love the yoga retreats because it's a time for me to decompress and actually just think. A lot of what is happening now, I believe, is that our brains are being clouded with so much information that we can't think. And that's the thing. So you almost have to figure out, what information am I consuming? I've been trying to also just kind of have really good conversations with a smaller circle of people who some of them are members here, some of them are just friends throughout the years, where I'm able to just kind of also share with what's going on with me. And at the same time, I'm trying to build my business. And so it requires me to stay focused and grounded. So as I said, I really get back to my mat. That's my number one. And I realize, oh man, I can work through any problems when I'm in my yoga practice, because I just come more freely. I'm not hustle bustle. I'm not running to pick up the kids. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. So that's really important. But as I said too, I invest time in some real deep conversations that I have with people, because in that I also learn. I hear what people are thinking. I'm able to also refine my thinking as well. As I said, I am trying to write more, so I use my morning time to do that. I have a bunch of stuff that I've been writing. I haven't put it out yet, but it's working towards something. And then I pray. I keep saying, I'm not on my knees praying for sure, but as I walk through my day, those little notices of gratitude, the things that I see around me, and I'm like, thank you, thank you. I always tell the students who come to my class, thank you for coming in, because it's like it doesn't happen without that. Staying in a space of gratitude, and I know you've heard this before, but I really believe that that's important, because if you don't understand what you have already, when you get more, you just won't know what to do with it, right? So that's been important for me. And the people who I surround myself, by the way, are constant reminders of my journey. It's a reminder that I didn't get here by chance, right? I didn't get here by chance, and that I'm here to serve a mission. I really do believe that we have a space in this wellness place that has not been highlighted for a long time in a serious way. Right, we're able to see more Black and Brown people taking control of their health and their own well-being, and I've never seen that in a yoga space before, at least not the ones that I was going to. And so, I created it, and so we all created it. And I think that that's important. As I said, I'm thankful and grateful every day.
So you mentioned your yoga practice. Can you talk a bit about, just for the audience, the yoga practice? It's when people think of yoga, they might not think of Bikram yoga. So can you explain what Bikram yoga is, like the setting, the temperature, this, the climate in the room, and as a meditation, how what are you focusing on or not focusing on? Obviously you dedicate that time, it's 90 minutes, but Bikram yoga is tough. And so how does that focus develop through this? How do you escape the fact that you're in 105 degrees and that it's a tough practice? How do you create the meditation in that?
That's exactly the point. It's a practice, and so you actually have to practice it. From the first time you go in, it's not necessarily easy. You may be jittery all over your mat. It's really hot. It's humid, and someone's speaking something like a foreign language to you, and you don't really understand what's going on. But somehow the body moves. And if you've ever witnessed an auctioneer type of event where the person is like so fast, and you're almost mesmerized into moving. All of a sudden your hand is doing this, and you're like, you end up walking away with something that you really didn't have the money for, or something like that, right? But it's to create almost a trance-like state so that your body moves without having to overthink it. And know how I talked about having the space to be with my thoughts. In my car, that's the space to be with my thoughts. For some reason, in the Bikram practice, I'm not necessarily in my thoughts. I'm creating space. So that later on, the thoughts will come. But if I'm in my thoughts, I'm falling all over my mat. I can't lock my knee. I can't pick up my leg, and things like that. So we practice it over time, so that over time, all the stimuli that we have around us, the news, media, all these things that are creating distractions for us, are able to push it aside so that we can actually focus on the work at hand,
Yes.
And that's the beautiful thing about the Bikram practice, is that you're moving the body almost like it's almost involuntary. You get to the point where you can move it to the point, like all of a sudden you're moving and you don't even know how you got through 90 minutes of this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing too, because a lot of people might not think that it's energizing because it's 105 degrees and 40% humidity. It's like, how do you breathe in there? But it really is an energizing practice. And I have been so amazed, because there are times when I've gone in extremely tired or without a whole lot of sleep, and then I leave energized.
Releasing toxic load from the body. So whereas, overnight we rest so that the organs can kind of renew itself and do its detoxification work and all of this other stuff. But imagine if we don't have that rest, and now all this stuff is built up in the system. So the kidneys can't do what it needs to do. The spleen can't do what it needs to do. The liver can't do what it needs to do. But we also have the benefit of this heat, which allows us to detoxify through our skin, decreasing the toxic overload from our environment, from our food, from stress, all these other things that cause disease in the body. So we are supporting those systems to do the very work that it's designed to do. And this is something that I'm a big proponent of. The body we have an incredible machine that we've been given. And if we treat it right, it's going to do well for us for a long, long time, right?
Yes.
A lot of these medical interventions are actually teaching us that our body is not powerful. But I've seen so many instances of people being able to heal their bodies, right, on their own, without medication, without surgery. And in fact, the more intervention we place in that, rather than flipping it on its head and doing what we need to do, the less our body is able to kind of respond to the external stressors that we're inevitably going to have. So, I think that when we think about health and healing and all of that, understanding that this vessel is so powerful, like we never even tap into a quarter of its power in our lifetime, but if we can meditate, we can control the mind, and we can move the body, we can actually help the process along.
Yeah. So that makes me think of some of the other services you have at BikramYogaWorks. You have your cryotherapy, PEMF. You do the fascia stretching. And so can you describe just the three of those just a little bit and the benefits of those?
The cryotherapy is cold therapy. So you're in a cold chamber that we have two versions. You're in submerged from neck down in a cold chamber, goes to like minus 225 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's pretty cold, but it's only a 3-minute treatment. And by the time if you're dealing with anything that's inflammatory of nature, and that's almost everyone in the United States, by the way, and everyone in developed countries, by the way, if you're dealing with anything of an inflammatory nature, gut, knee, arthritis, and autoimmune diseases, even headaches, even, insomnia, this cold therapy activates your system in a way that it helps to calm that fight or flight and really address the inflammation in the body. In 3 minutes, it will decrease any pain or inflammation that you have in the body, just like that. You walk out of there feeling like a brand new person. It's really, really good for people who are suffering from, again, any type of inflammatory issue. Similarly, PEMF does the same thing, but it's a longer treatment. So it's an hour long on a bed that's pulsing. And the goal of that is to bring you to, in a sense, Earth's frequency. Think of putting your feet in the sand at the beach or walking barefoot in the grass, that you're connecting with the Earth's frequency, which is so important for us to heal, which is also why we need to go outside and get that vitamin D. It's all of these things. There's a synthesis that happens in order for the body to actually properly function, and that sometimes it gets compromised because, again, diet, stress, environment, all these other things that we are confronted with every day as human beings. So the PEMF bed helps to downregulate your central nervous system so that the body can actually do the work of healing. If it's always upregulated in fight or flight, then it's not able to actually do the work of healing. It really requires a downregulated central nervous system. So that's an hour-long treatment. The bed feels like tiny pulses through the body. And I've actually been lulled to sleep very many times with this treatment. It's the best sleep that you've ever got. And it's the most clear sleep you ever get. Like I've had visions on this bed that I was like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
The fascial stretch therapy also has a role in down-regulating the central nervous system. So we work on the fascia, that's the connective tissue that holds everything together. It's a glue of the body, but it also allows us to work on the nervous system. So really, again, calming it so much so that the body will let go of its restrictions and be able to kind of release any type of discomfort right there. So the whole goal of the stretch is to make sure that people can move better, have more mobility, feel better in their body, release kind of restrictions. And some people have actually been able to work on, alignment, postural alignment through the stretching, especially if you're suffering from a recent injury, which will cause you to overcompensate in any particular area of the body. It can help to correct some of that over time. It's a beautiful stretch. It's a beautiful session. Again, some people fall asleep on it. That's how soft it is. And then we can use it to upregulate too. Like we can actually, for athletes, we use it a little bit differently to get them ready for games or for post-recovery after the game. So you don't have to be an athlete to get it, but a lot of people say it's better than a massage.
It is. Yes, it is.
It's a beautiful thing, but it's allowing you to connect with the body. And a lot of the services that we offer here, and again, I believe in intuitive knowledge. And if we can connect to our intuitive knowledge, like gut,
Yes.
we can find healing. A lot of times we're not able to heal because we actually pay attention too late. And so the body's always constantly giving us cues that something is going wrong, right? Something is going wrong. And it tells us that. And we know that because we feel the disease, right? We feel it, but we don't necessarily address it because we're afraid to go to the doctor. We don't have time, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is the body's always talking to us. And so the services that we offer is for us to get in tune with the body. If you get on that PEMF bed, it's called, PEMF stands for pulse electromagnetic field therapy. It's a magnetic field, so it's going to go to the area of weakest, the weakest area in your body, and potentially the area that is most inflamed. So generally it will find the area. So a lot of people, oh yeah, I've been having shoulder issues, their shoulders doing this, right? Oh, my knees been doing, their knees like doing this. Oh, I've been having stomach digestive issues, their stomach is like doing this. So the machine actually finds the area that needs the attention, and then it's like, oh yeah, I've been eating more pasta lately, or you know what I mean? It's like it's these type of things that, again, we're trying to really encourage people to get in tune with their bodies, because our body is an intelligent vessel, and it tells us what we need to know. And if we can tune in, we'll be able to get things before it gets too late, and all of a sudden we're in surgery and a hospital bed, or death or whatever. We don't want that. We want people to live long, but live healthy and gracefully age, right? Gracefully age, so and I love that. You mentioned earlier that, in the community, you'll see not just young people. I mean, we have people going all the way into their 70s who come here, and that's a beautiful thing. And because there's something here for everyone, and we're all in the pursuit of health.
Yeah. Something you said that I want, and it just left my mind. But I thought about, you mentioned, I think I remember you mentioning how the fascia stretching, like someone had like an emotional experience where they were crying, and trauma and pain and all of that just stays in your body if you are not in touch with your body. And that deep stretching, like you said, it helps you to get in touch with your body. And through that, you might have an experience that you don't expect to have, because you are releasing and identifying areas in your body as you learn to connect with your body. It's pretty amazing.
It's actually, I've had, several people get off the table and just burst into tears. And those releases are amazing because we hold so much. The fascia actually holds all of our it's our emotional body. So any type of trauma, accident, pain, whatever, it's going to be stored there. It's like a DNA marker, and you see people, start to round their shoulders or try to, all of a sudden their body's not upright because they're in protective mode. But the goal, and this is why we also created the flex class, by the way. So the goal is that we can actually move the body and remove those restrictions, because the more we can move, the better you're going to feel. If you ever see people who don't move, how much pain they complain about. Like, what did you move today? Or you just been sitting at your desk all day? Of course you're going to have back pain. Of course you're going to have this type of pain because you're not moving sufficiently. The body is designed to move. We're not designed to sit at desks all day. I want to I sit still. Obviously I'm sitting still right now, but most of my day is moving here, there, and everywhere. And I want to be able to, keep moving into my 90s and 100. And you see those people who do it, and you're like, I want to be like that, But the reality is that, again, if we can tune into what our body's telling us now, we'll be able to do that over time, and we'll be able to catch issues. It's not to say you'll never get sick. Of course, everybody can get sick, but when you recognize that, you can start being proactive about it and move forward that way. It's like, anything that we do to our body, there's an impact, right? It could be negative, it could be positive, but we control most of that, right? We control most of that. It's our environment, what we put in our mouth, especially, and who we surround ourselves with, all of those things can lead to, actually movement restriction. And when you see that, it's actually sad, because again, these are things that we can control, but we sometimes sell ourselves disempowering narratives that say we can't do anything about it. This is again where I see the complaining happening. You were wed to that story. And I want people who come through our doors to change their story. You know what I mean? I want you to change
Yeah.
your story and make it more empowering, because we always have a choice. I think this is the thing. We always have a choice.
Yeah. And one of the things, or one of the phrases I learned from you, is you tell people to create a great day, not have a great day, but create a great day. I started saying that to people, and they were like, really questioning, how do you create a great day? Because I am responsible for my actions. I am responsible for my thoughts. I'm responsible for creating a great day. And so I'm so grateful. Thank you. Because now I have an opportunity to explain to people what that means. And part of this podcast, the reason for it is because sometimes people are wedded. They stick to those stories because they don't know any other way. And so I'm grateful that you have taken the time to share today, because this gives opportunity for people to see that there are different ways of managing your health, and you are able to create a great day, a great story, a great life.
And I have to give credit. I was fortunate enough to have really good mentors early in life. So when I was in college, I had an internship at Kaiser Permanente, and it was my supervisor at the time. She had that on her email and on her voicemail. And I said, I kind of like that. And I was only like, 18, 19 years old at that time, but it has stuck with me, and I've kept it, because when she and I talked about it, I was like, yeah, like that is it. Like, we have to take that responsibility on ourselves to actually create the life that we want to live. And then everything that we see be up in front of us is of our own creation.
Yes. Yes.
Right? It's of our own creation. So we can change it, right? If we create it, we can also change it. I haven't figured it all out. I'm still figuring it out, but that's the beauty of creation. It doesn't really stop. Creation is a forever thing. You can create till you die. I know in the beginning you asked me a little bit about the legacy you want to leave, and I think that's great. Like, that's the thing that when things have seemed so hard for me, I had to flip the script. And I think someone told me I was the pivot queen or something like that. They call me the pivot queen, but literally it was like, when things are not going the way I need it to go, I need to flip the script. And so the thing is, for me, when I'm talking to people, it's like, you have to be able to be flexible enough to not be so wed to the story.
Yeah.
Right? That you can actually flip the script, because sometimes we see opportunities right in front of us, in front of our faces, and we don't see it because we're wed to the story.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to be this, yoga guru. Well, maybe that's not the story forever. You know what I mean? But I have to be flexible enough to flip that script if I needed to, and not be wed to that story because it's sexy, or it's this, or it's that, and people give you accolades. Like, a lot of people don't even know that where I went to college or where I went to grad school. It's not really important at the end of the day. You know what I mean? The reality is how are you living your life? And I often read that poem. It's called The Invitation. And it's so beautiful, because it always says, I don't care what titles you hold, where you went to school, who you study with. None of that really matters. Can you stand, before me and claim, your power? Like, can you stand in front of, millions of people and just say, I'm here. Like, this is me. Like, at the end of the day, it's not the titles you hold or anything like that. It's who you are at your core. And so how we uncover that over time, I think, is what's going to help actually heal us and heal the world going forward.
Yeah. So on that note, let's talk a bit about legacy, how you would like to be remembered. And so part of, again, this podcast is to normalize death conversation. And I think considering our end of life, how we want to be remembered really can help be a tool for how we want to live our life. And so that's the whole purpose of the end of life planning and the legacy discussions I like to have with people. So can you share with me, with all you're creating, what message would you leave in the world when you're no longer here? What would you like your legacy to be? None of us, I heard Oprah Winfrey say, Maya Angelou shared this with her, that none of us know our legacy. We have no idea how many lives we've touched. We have no idea how many lives we've changed. In the end, there will be hopefully stories and testimonials, but we really never know. But the way we live, the intention we set behind what we want to create, we know that it has an impact, and we can be intentional about the impact we would like it to leave, but it's going to be way bigger than what we can even think. So
so my intention, like, often after class, I'll also say something like, you create it, you own it, it's all within your power, right?
Yes.
You create it, you own it, it's all within your power. And this is something that I believe so fully, like that everything, again, that's right before you is of your own creation, and we can always change the story. And if anything, I think my life will show how many times I've had to pivot. Like my life hasn't always been easy. I haven't always had the support of parents, and I haven't always had the support of finances or whatever the case may be. But things happen. Things happen because I did set an intention, and I knew that what I was doing in this world will actually be greater than what I even thought. And a lot of it was coming too from my background with the things that I really valued in creating a community and wanting to have that for people, because I do believe that wellness is our birthright, and this is a legacy that I would like to leave. That's we have a space here. We collective, we Black and brown, we everyone has a space here, and that's the thing that I think that over time will be the biggest message that I could leave, because for so long I think the narrative has been so one-sided, and I think we can change that, and people can see each other's humanity through wellness. Yeah, like I shouldn't have to. It's not, to me, like, and part of where we have always been trying to push the envelope is we shouldn't have to travel so far to get services that are wellness focused, and we can bring it right to our community where everyone has access, no matter who you are and your background. And so, to me, I think opening that up to traditionally ignored communities, while not being exclusive, is very much the point. The point is that everyone should be able to access this, not because you have resources and that you live in a certain zip code. So that's what it is. I think that at the end of the day, people also see that when not, I don't want to say when the going gets tough, because that's not really the message. It's more that you have to be flexible in mind, body, and spirit. That's also something I say at the end of my flex class. Like, hopefully you're flexible in your mind, body, and spirit, that you can see these opportunities, that when they present themselves as opportunities, not as challenges, not as, things that are going to pull you down, but that opportunities for you to grow or to evolve. And that's the thing that I think this time period that we are living in on earth now is teaching us, is that we all have to evolve, and we do so by being flexible in mind, body, and spirit.
I met one of your sister-in-laws through a workshop she offered, which I benefited so much from, loved it. And she talked a little bit about, I don't know if it's a family circle, I might be making that up, but how you all come together and you listen to aspirational goals, and you listen and you support one another by investing financially in the other's dreams or desires. And to me, that family, that legacy you create with your family, I'd like to learn more about that, if you don't mind sharing.
As we became more adults, and as all of us started having our own different businesses, we started doing more strategic planning with each other. And so, and one of the things that Mwadi always says, is having a crew that will hold you accountable. And I think that that's definitely something that our family does, is we hold each other accountable to what we say we're going to do, or that what we say is our goal. And we don't also allow space for complaining. And I believe that you need to have those people in your circle that you can vent with, but then there's other people who can take that, listen to you, and be okay, let's come up with a plan so that we don't have to stay here in this space. And that's something that we always have done for each other. And I think because we're all entrepreneurial minded, it just makes sense. In this family, we just have almost everyone is either working in one of the family businesses or runs one of the family businesses. So it's actually pretty cool. But I often tell people the world of the BYW is a world that I want to live in. right? It's a world what I see in the space is what I want to see. This is the world that I live in. It's diverse, it's inclusive, it holds each other accountable, it knows your name, because it's important to be seen, right? It's important to be seen. And I think this is the space that we allow for that to happen. So so that's what we do. Our family is very much seen because, you know, we're all in the public eye for one reason or another. But then but it actually is a family that practices what we preach. Like,
thought about your end of life, how you want your funeral maybe to be, your body disposed of? Have you created a plan?
I don't know if I have a plan. I mean, I have all my paperwork done, but honestly, I don't see myself having a big funeral per se. I actually think I'm going to be cremated. I don't necessarily want to be in the ground. And when my dad died, I was like, I just think that whole finality of, you know, kind of the soil going over the casket was a little bit much for me. I don't think I want to do that for myself. But yeah, so I imagine I'll be cremated and my ashes could go into the ether somewhere.
Okay. And I don't think you'll be able to control that celebration unless you're really adamant and that's your
no. And then people of course could celebrate, but it won't be it will be a celebration as opposed to a mourning.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, your life is certainly a celebration already. Before we close, I want to talk about these amazing retreats I have seen. I don't know how I missed Morocco, but please tell me all about Morocco, first of all, and then tell me about retreats, future retreats, and just what do you do on these retreats?
The retreats are a perfect opportunity for anyone wanting to, again, go deeper into a community of support, and a community like you really create really strong bonds and friendship through travel. And that's the thing that I think that I learned the most. And also because you're out of your normal environment, you become a little bit more, exploratory. You just you eat different foods, you explore different locations, you see different sites. We always have yoga in the retreat. It's always at least one class a day. The one in Mexico is always 2 classes a day because that's our traditional just yoga retreat. But when we do these adventure retreats in other countries, we have 1 class a day, and then we do sightseeing. We'll go to the market, we'll have group dinners, we do our yoga en blanc signature event. But it's fun because we, generally what I love about the yoga retreat travel in particular is that you find people who are of like mind. There's very rarely any drama in a yoga retreat. And that's what I love. You always find people who just really just chill and just coming there to have a good time and really connect with people. And it's just a different energy altogether. We're going to go back to Morocco, October 1 to the 7th in 2023. And we're looking at following that up with a Tunisia extension. So we'll go Morocco, Tunisia in this next retreat. I think it's going to be fun because again, we had 43 people this time. It was amazing.
Wow.
It was a big group. It was our biggest group so thus far. But I think everyone had a really solid experience. Morocco is just a beautiful country. We ate every color of the rainbow every day. And when do you do that, right? Like, you don't really do that in the United States unless you're very intentional about that. But there, it was just a way of living. And when you go to these other cultures, by the way, you just realize how much more in balance your body feels.
Yeah.
And it's not just your body, you're actually balanced with the environment, you're balanced with nature, you're balanced with, other people, even in some things that seem like chaos, like, a lot of traffic or people, camels and animals working through the streets with cars or whatever. You're just like, but in that chaos, quote unquote, it's calm and there's balance. And I love that. I love being able to experience that in a retreat because it's not often the case that you get to see that. So we're going to go back to Morocco, October 1 to 7th. I'm working on another Mexico retreat. Again, that's traditional yoga. But what I love about the Mexico retreat is that we have our own private chef. Everyone is in the same location. We do the 2 classes a day, so you really get deeper into your yoga practice. And then the rest of the day is really about self-care. So a lot of people get massages, body work, they meet with the shaman, they do other things that really about getting in tune with themselves. And so it's not a lot of sightseeing per se, although we do a couple of days like that, but it's more around my body, my self-care, that retreat. Yeah. So I loved it. So we're going to, as I said, we're going to go back to Morocco, October 1st to the 7th of 2023. You'll see that in the newsletter very soon. And then, so the reason why you may have missed Morocco this time is because actually we sold it pre-pandemic. We were supposed to go in 2020.
Oh.
Then, of course, the world shut down. And so we postponed it to this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the newsletter. How do people find you on social media? Where can people find you? Where can they access your newsletter and any other information about BikramYogaWorks?
Yep, BikramYogaWorks.com. You can sign up right there on the homepage and access our new, and you'll get our new added to our mailing list. You can join us on Facebook or Instagram at BikramYogaWorks. My personal handle is at Blackett Dibinga. That's my last name, BLACKETT Dibinga, Dibinga. That's my Instagram handle. So, but if you follow BikramYogaWorks, you'll be able to find me very easily. That's the best way to connect with us. Of course, we have our website, which has a lot of information about the various services, the wellness services that we offer. We've been making some updates to it, so now it's more mobile friendly and it's just easier to navigate. Hopefully, if you have any questions, you can just contact us through any of those means.
Thank you so much for your time, Kendra. And I am praying this podcast really encourages people to find their own inner strength and balance. What's the flex quote you say at the end of each class? Flexibility and mobility. What's it?
Mind, body, and
yes.
spirit.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. I want to end this just by reading something I pulled from your Jack of all trades, master of none. Newsletter. And I don't know if it's called the newsletter or your blog, but I think this is also very important. And you've said this throughout the interview for people who are interested in being entrepreneurs or just gaining their own focus in whatever. But it says doing everything means something suffers. Being a jack of all trades doesn't work. Choose your lane. As you've already said, dominate it and grow it. The reward comes with focus. The more you dig, you've said, the more I dig, the more I see opportunity. I'm no longer distracted by quick money opportunities that come my way. I'm quickly able to see if these opportunities align with my vision or not. The intention is to dominate my lane. And I think that is a great way to end this because that's the key to success as an entrepreneur. That's what I have seen you do. And when I say you're strong, I don't just mean strong in the yoga studio and in the drip classes, but I've seen you dominate your lane. And I appreciate your example. I appreciate you being, I told you, you're my mentor that I've adopted. And I just watch you and learn from your example. So thank you for being the amazing, creative, visionary that you are. And thank you again for your time today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we're doing. So thank you, Donna.